I wouldn't use Perplexity on that, sorry. Perplexity wouldn't be able to hold that kind of data. So far over the last couple of days hasn't been absolutely great in terms of results. It's never going to be perfect. I want to talk about a bunch of really, really important things. OpenAI just blew everything out of the water. Also, what's really interesting is Microsoft is a huge investor in ChatGPT and OpenAI in general. He feels like it's not as open as it should be. OpenAI just released the combination of Apple and ChatGPT, which is insane. Hey, it's Ronsley. Welcome, you AI geek, to Amplify AI. Mate, what's happening in your world? What's the AI work you've been up to lately?
I'm just finding it that I'm using it more and more since kind of hanging out with you. So I just got both Claude and ChatGPT to research it, create a customized, personalized, like long kind of birthday greeting with reflective questions, and just kind of trying to nuance it more and more for marketing as well.
So tell me more. So obviously you're using it for not business type use cases. Are there other personal type use cases that you're finding you're using it for, like the one you just mentioned?
Well, that one that I just mentioned, the output was so good that I then said to my BA, turn this into a social media post with some reflective questions that people can think about.
Have you posted any stuff that you've created from AI before?
I would have. I mean, a lot of what I do now will be getting AI to polish up thoughts, or I'll put in some half-formed thoughts and then ask it to add to it, flesh it out.
So not like completed stuff. So can I ask maybe a better question? And if you had to solve a problem today, what would that be? Like in the business, like if I could help with, hey, so for example, there's different parts of the business, right? There's the attract part, the convert part, the deliver part, the scale part, and we got all the different processes in between. So is there any specific space that I could help?
Definitely the attract part, and helping me get clear on actually what is my brand, what is my unique selling point. Because when people ask me what I do, I still struggle to explain what I do.
Let's deal with that. That would be super cool. A really, really cool exercise to do. So if you could articulate that in the chat and then say, this is what I have tried, that would be amazing. And that would be a good starting point. Nabi?
I'm still writing articles and dropping them into Gamma, and I just love the way it's putting it out. And the other one that looking to integrate it with is Napkin AI, because you drop stuff into Napkin AI, obviously, and it comes up with all the little graphs and everything. It just blows my mind where all this stuff is going and how easy it can make things for you, that you used to have to engage a VA. I don't have time to do this. Go and do this drawing for me, and I'd have to sort of explain it out of my mind. And you go into Napkin, and it's pretty generic in as much as it uses the same thing over and over and over, and it just gives you different variations. And to be honest, Gamma does the same thing, but it's done. There's no mucking around. There's no days, weeks, months getting things prepared, and it sparks another idea for you to go to berserk on. And so I'm just doing posts, putting them up in LinkedIn, attaching a Gamma to it, and Gammas are supposed to be coming as PDFs, but LinkedIn doesn't accept it as a PDF. So I put the link from Gamma into LinkedIn, and it then shows the graphic for the PDF. So the PDF's not being pulled directly from your desktop, it's coming directly from Gamma. And then of course it's starting to get used.
What I would love, because this is the second time you're mentioning Gamma, and I looked into it and I played with Napkin a little bit, but it would be really cool to do some sort of a demonstration on how Gamma works and how people can use it, how you're using it, and you can guide through. Okay, let's start with ChatGPT. So I've been giving Claude a lot of love, been saying very openly that I'm tool agnostic. So I'm going to move to ChatGPT and give it a little love, because they've been blowing my mind with some of the announcements that they've had recently. So which is what everyone has been asking for, right? Everyone's been like, oh, I already use Siri or Alexa or whatever it is. Could I invoke that rather than having another app open and all that kind of stuff, which is now made possible? So just for context, if you don't mind, May, can you articulate what this volume is?
Yes. So I run a 10-day leadership program that encompasses an NLP practitioner coach certification, and that's the resource manual. But it's like curating 20 years of my knowledge of coaching, leadership, and NLP. So it's not just NLP, it's a lot more than that.
You've got so much there, May, that you could chuck that in and get ChatGPT or Claude or even Perplexity to tell you, like summarize the whole document and then say, who is this good for? Who's a target audience I could present this to? And
Okay.
you'll have that done in seconds rather than trying to think of it. So what Ronsley was saying is, this is who I help. This is what I do. This is the results they get, which is where everybody starts with the basics. You've already got 20 years worth of stuff that you can say, how can I condense this all down into who I help, what I do, and etc. And that's exactly what Ronsley is doing for you now.
Yeah, so
and
ChatGPT can hold that volume. I thought it might have been too big for it.
that's the only problem with it, isn't it, Ronsley? It's the size of the document. And if it doesn't work in ChatGPT, and quite often it won't, if it's a big document, I'd run Perplexity or Claude.
I wouldn't use Perplexity on that. Sorry. Perplexity wouldn't be able to hold that kind of data. And maybe even not even Claude anymore, because for whatever reason, I have been coming up against some implementations on Claude's context window when I add my book, and my book is not as large as what May's manual here is. However, May, from the text, May is a transformational coach and NLP practitioner, which you identify as anyway. You help individuals and leaders seek professional growth. Okay, so final template. I'm a transformational coach and NLP practitioner who helps individuals and leaders achieve clarity, alignment, and transformative change in their personal and professional lives. I'm unique because I combine deep expertise in NLP and leadership frameworks, emphasize the interplay between inner beliefs and outer performance, and offer a highly client-centered, flexible approach tailored to individual need. That is better than nothing.
Yeah, so B's actually correct, because I always talk about your inner game dictates your outer game of performance.
No. Here's the thing. The power, I've always said, is in the collective wisdom of the room. And I very much feel that's the case. In no room do I feel like that I'm the expert, or any one person is the expert, irrespective of who they are. I think everyone has their own expertise.
What is it they say? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
It's just a ego circle. So how has that improved it? It's changed, empowers. Okay, so I'm a transformational coach and NLP practitioner who empowers individuals and leaders to unlock clarity, align their inner beliefs with outer actions, and create meaningful, lasting change in their personal and professional lives. My approach is unique because I blend deep expertise in NLP and leadership methodologies, focus on bridging the inner mindset with external performance, and provide a highly tailored, empathetic process that meets clients exactly where they are and propels them towards their goals.
I think what I've got to figure out and add in is, obviously that's a 400-page text, like a manual. Whereas when I have a conversation with people, most people will say that my level of listening, sense making, and presence doesn't come through in the manual, right? Because it's theory and content. It's not a book. You've had a conversation with me.
First of all, it's not easy to say that I don't have this piece figured out. We get asked this question every single day that we're a business owner or an artist or a service provider or whatever. And it's literally the one thing that we don't have sorted. So this is big, and sometimes we have all this stuff with us and we don't know how to get even a version A or version 1.0 or version 0.1. I do suggest this. Firstly, one is kind of have this documented somewhere. Start a new notebook. And that notebook, you're going to say version 0.1, and you're going to put that in there. And it's never going to be perfect. It's always going to evolve. You're going to get better. You're going to get better at expressing yourself. And I'll give you a very specific story. When I started doing podcasts, I would tell people they needed a podcast, or go to the business and tell them that they need a podcast. And they would just think that I'm stupid, like the most weirdest person on the planet, because business owners had all these other problems. And I was suggesting a podcast. I would keep saying, hey, you need a podcast. And I would see it so clearly, and I would say it. And by the way, I got Stephen Tate. He's now, I think, CEO of Mullany Dairies, but he used to be CEO of the Chamber of Commerce in Brisbane. And we had a conversation for about an hour, and he literally kind of, in the most politest way, told me to get lost, because he's like, the people in the Chamber of Commerce, the businesses have way more bigger problems than a podcast is going to solve, which is really crazy, because 2 years later, they hired us to start Business Over Breakfast, which was a Chamber of Commerce podcast. And what changed was, I was first saying, you need a podcast. And people were like, I don't get it. And I could see that they were not getting it. So rather than persist with the same pitch, I changed it. And I would say, you know what, I think your business needs to story tell using audio. And what if your clients heard your brand before they bought from you, and then they would think about it, they would kind of understand, but they still would not get it. And then I finally, after 2 years or like at least 18 months, if not longer, I finally said, do you know how every conversion in your business happens in a conversation? They're like, huh? What if you recorded those conversations and people could hear them and already convert before they even become clients? And then they were like, oh, so I should start a podcast. So you see the difference. You kind of try to see it, and you know it, and you feel like you know it better. And I want to give another huge shout out to Tony Bachet, by the way, who yesterday on social media taught me something that after 15 years in entrepreneurship, I needed to learn and hear and still work on. And it's this one line: fall in love with the customer, not the product. And all this while, I have been in love with the product and not my customer. And I think artists do that in general. We kind of feel like we know everything, and that's why we've created this perfect product to deliver a result. In that, there's an ego play of, I know more than you, I'm no better than you. And there's sort of like, it's a underlying superior inferiority dynamic that is created. So literally, it was very, very humbling for that to land. So I think that's also relevant for all of us in here. So what I would suggest, and the reason I put that in here, is it'll keep evolving. Use this as version 1. And then what I would do is I would start a new chat in your ChatGPT, and I would say, this is my version 1. And then I would start to add testimonials from people. I'll give you an example. I'm in a similar position right now. And actually, it's really good for me to be in this position, because despite having a business that is doing really well, which is the podcasting business, this AI side is a startup. It is still new, and I don't want to throw money and resources and people at this without figuring out this main part, which we all have to.
I'm just going to hit the button and put this text in there and take it for what it's worth. But
Yeah.
every avenue is worth exploring. If you read what I put in there, every avenue is worth exploring. It may seem simple to you because it might not resonate in your mind for the client that you're looking for, and the client may be above that. But if you start with that and build up on it, and maybe change the 9-year-old to a senior executive who would understand what I'm saying. The language you need to use is not what you're using all the time, it's what they use. And it comes back to what Ronsley was just saying, get to know your customer.
Yeah.
If you know how they think and they talk and express themselves and what they're looking for, what they want, it's not what you want, it's what they want. So I would always say, give them what they need and sell them give them what they want and sell them what they need.
Very helpful. I started a similar process with audience analysis and analyzing my audience and kind of going, okay, this is who my audience is and this is what they care about. And me expressing it. And then what I did was I went and found a whole bunch of testimonials that people gave me, including the ones that were given, after the 111 we did at the workshop. There was like, I think 6 or 7 people that gave a video testimonial. This is Jeff Maines, and he gave a testimonial about ride flow. And Jeff Maines is like, he's a business coach for SaaS enterprises. So, which means he sees a software as a service over and over again. And he says that he uses ride flow, like he's been using it every day for the last year. And it's like the next generation of AI tools. And I was like, what? And this was in Austin, by the way. So I actually really captured it on video. And so I took this testimonial and a whole bunch of other testimonials. What I'm showing you here is just me putting the testimonial into a transcription service and getting the transcription out. Okay. So I have all these in here, and I just put that back in and said, tell me what my customers are saying about me, like, so that I can explain that to a prospect. So then it uses each customer's words and it starts to improve it. So there are a few things that you're going to do. And then what I'd love you to do is in the school community, can you please put this is version 1, and then whatever your next version is and wherever you reach with it, just put this is what I've reached to. And then others can give advice on that. And by the way, for anyone in here and anyone watching, whether it's the recording or it's the repeat or it's whatever, if you do not have your version of this, please do your version 1. Put it somewhere where someone can give you feedback, because that is probably the most important thing. Otherwise, you're just going mental. You're just not giving your thoughts an audience. And it's just this repeat viral, vicious cycle that's happening in your head. And you really need to give it an audience so that you can get feedback and see it from a different perspective. That would help you and it would help everyone else in the process. With that context, you would help. What you could give it is, here's testimonials of what people have said after they've worked with me. Here is my bio. You just put that in there. So these are different. So credibility, results, awards. So what you're trying to do right now is build your pitch. And I highly recommend the key person of influence pitching architecture. If you don't know, and if you have you done KPI?
No.
I'm just a huge fan. The reason I'm a huge fan is because I had $500,000 of debt. No, $478,000 of debt in 2013, and I did key person of influence in 2013, and I was Brisbane Group 1. It's a book, it's a course, it's a program.
You can download the book for nothing as well.
Yeah, you can get the book for nothing. You can get into their system is pretty good. But I wrote my second book obviously 3 months ago and just published it. And in that book, I thank the Key Person of Influence program, the impact that it's had. I did it with no money, actually negative $500,000 of money. And if not for my wife and not for her going, you've got to do this, we'll find the money to pay. Probably wouldn't have done it because logically it didn't make sense, but it literally changed how I saw business. But yeah, in here, he talks about 5 Ps. It's a Daniel Priestley book. And I wonder whether there's an image. There must be. Yeah, the 5 Ps, and talk about pitch, publish, product, profile, and partnership. And pitching is number 1. And he's got this great saying, which is you get what you pitch for and you're always pitching. In a lot of senses, that one line, which I just had there in the ChatGPT, which is I am X who helps Y do Z, and I'm unique because ABC. That is the shortest pitch that you can have. Like if you're in an elevator, I'm X who helps Y achieve Z is really what you want. And then you're hoping that someone says, oh, how do you do that? And then you go ABC. So it's not like it's a conversational way of actually pitching yourself. But all this to say that refine it, and obviously I just want to give credit to the pitching architecture of the Key Person of Influence. How was that? Can you give me how do you feel? What do you learn the most?
I think what I learned the most is in my head, I need to chunk it into a structure that makes sense so that when I put in a prompt into Chat or Claude, then what it produces, what I'm finding with you is whatever the thing produces then generates the next level of thinking from me that I would not have had before until I had the output. The output then makes me go, oh, okay, well, now that I have the output, here's the next thing. And then that output. So it's kind of like a thinking partner. That's my biggest takeout. It helps me actually deepen my own thinking.
It is your best brainstorming partner that you can have. But again, I've been talking about iterative prompting for a long time. And iterative prompting really is taking the output of your last prompt and making the input of your next prompt. And it's called recursion. It's a recursive method of improvement. And it's funny because I wrote my thesis in agile methods, and agile methods is the evolution of project management. So project management used to be, let's go and talk to the customer at the start, get all their requirements, go make sure we got all their requirements documented, and then we go make the thing, and then we show the customer, and the customer's like, hey, this is not what I asked for. But by that time, it's the waterfall model. And that was initially what project management was. And then agile methods came along, which is a very simple way of thinking. And I know people convolute it like other things, but they use Kanban and Scrum and all these other terms to depict what agile methods are or project management, but it's very simple. Agile methods state that you've got to iteratively manage your project, which means you start with the smallest requirement, create an MVP, show it to the customer, get feedback, improve, create the next feature. And then you go around in circles and you have a cyclical nature in improvement. And it's a recursive method of getting the exact, it's reducing the value alignment problem. And you've heard me talk about the value alignment problem a lot. So it helps us understand from the customer what it is that they want, and also helps the customer see what we're creating. And that's the same thing with brainstorming. So the reason this is so powerful is because you're allowed to evolve your thinking with the prompting.
I was just quickly going to say, mate, when you're writing something, write it as if you're actually talking to that person, which comes back to what Ronsley was saying earlier about put your customer first, fall in love with your customer, because when you know exactly what it is, how they feel and what they want and what they're thinking, it's so much easier to get inside their head.
Yeah.
It wasn't me saying, it was me learning. I want to give credit to Tony for this, because sometimes you can take something you've just learned and just take it as yours, but this is not mine at all. I'm still letting this information sit and marinate. Hey, AI Geek. Thanks for listening. Your job doesn't stop here. I want you to lend your voice to the conversation. So you can join those conversations, discussions, new trainings, new recordings, and the rest of the AI Geeks by going to aigeeks.co. Also, share this podcast with a friend, another potential AI geek. Until then, much love.